Hey, this is Jill from Simple Daily Recipes, and we're back in the kitchen. I'm getting ready to make a batch of buttermilk biscuits, the best ever, and I thought you might want to watch. What I want to start off with is I've got some butter cut up into some cold butter cut into little cubes. See, not very big, like half-inch cubes. And I'm going to borrow some of this butter to butter my baking pans. No fun having sticking biscuits. And I like to use real butter because real butter tastes better. Alright, that one's done. Borrow a little bit more. I'm just pinching off a little bit. I'm not actually using like a whole cube. I'm squeezing. Alright, that's done. Buttered pans. I'm going to move them up here. The next thing I want to do is get my dry ingredients together. I need 4 cups of flour. This is my idea of handling flour. And notice I don't have a mixer out. I'm going to do this all by hand. It doesn't take very long. And there's only one part of it that's messy. And that's when I'm going to work the butter into the flour with my hands. Yes, with my hands. No mixers. Keep those under the counter. We don't need them today. Alright. 4 teaspoons of baking powder. 1 teaspoon of salt. ½ teaspoon of soda. And have you ever, like, you get lumps in your soda? Like, I hate to have the soda in the box, so I just poured all my soda into a mason jar. But my soda gets clumpy, and you know what I figured out? Just pull out what you want. I just dump it in my hand, and I use the back of the measuring spoon to crush the baking powder clumps. It works perfectly. No big deal, and I don't have to dirty another dish. That's all done. Goes in. Ta-da! That's all my dry ingredients, so I'm just going to mix those around with my hand. And then I'm going to take some butter that I have cut up into cubes, and I'm going to dump it in here. My oven's ready. Alright, and I like to just drop my bowl into my sink, and then that way if I make a mess, my mess is in my sink. Okay? Alright, all I'm doing is just working this butter and squeezing the butter and squeezing the flour together. Okay? And I'm trying to make sure that I don't have any big clumps of butter. And this will take about a minute. I mean, this might seem messy, but it's really not. And you actually feel like I can feel the flour. We're going to go in Batman mode again. I can feel the flour getting moist with the butter. So it doesn't take a whole lot. Okay, I've worked it. And see, I can do this. I can like take it and like I can mold. See how it just kind of makes a clump? My flour's ready. I can squeeze it and it kind of holds together. You see that all right? See, it just holds together. It's ready. Okay, I'm ready to put my buttermilk in. Here's my secret is I don't actually use buttermilk. You can use buttermilk in the buttermilk biscuits recipe. That's fine. But I never have buttermilk all in hand. I have to make an effort to go to the store, get the buttermilk, bring it home, and use it for the biscuits. And then I have to figure out what to do with all the rest of the buttermilk. So that's kind of a pain to me. But what I always have on hand is plain yogurt. I'm going to plop in here about 1½ cups of plain yogurt. And then I'm going to use milk. Okay? I like whole milk because I get whole milk from the cow. And I'm going to top this yogurt off with enough milk to make till it measures 2 cups. And I'm just going to whip that around, and that's going to make a mess, and it's also going to be the consistency of buttermilk. Buttermilk is really thick. Just make a little well in my bowl, dump that in, and I'm not going to scrape. You see how I got a whole lot of yogurt and milk? I'm going to save this because one of the other things that I like to do to my biscuits is brush the tops with buttermilk or yogurt. So I'm just saving back probably about 1.5 tablespoons, maybe 2 tablespoons. And this will be just enough to brush the tops of the biscuits when I get them cut up and put in the pan. Stir and fold this, the dry mixture and the buttermilk together. And it's going to be wet and sticky. And I want the dough wet and sticky. See, I'm getting a workout. I'm a maniac. Maniac. Oh yeah. Okay. See, there's my biscuit. It's wet and clumpy. And that makes perfect biscuits. Flour my surface, and I've already cleaned off my counter, so I'm just going to use my counter here, and I'm going to get it all floury, and I'm going to dump this dough out. Ooh, plop. And I am not going to knead this dough. That's another thing. Your recipes are always saying knead the dough, knead it 10 times or whatever. I think that overworks the dough. I think you should just leave it alone. Leave it all wet and moist and clumpy. And yeah, it's sticky, but when you get done, when you start eating on these biscuits, you're going to see why you don't want to overwork it. You don't want to put more flour in it. You want it to be moist, and where you don't have to get a drink of water every time you take a bite. Alright, see, that's just one big old mess. Can you see that? Just a big old mess. And I'm going to put a little more flour on it. And I'm not trying to work this flour into the dough. I'm just using the flour to keep me separated from it. And I'm going to, if I have ends here that are kind of falling apart, I can kind of pinch those together. But my real goal here is just to pat this dough out. And I have a 13 by 9 pan. So I'm actually going to make my dough about that size. Roll this to make this an oval. I got more. I'm just going to keep. I'm just using that flour to keep myself separated. And I made this probably about a 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch thick. We like big honking biscuits, so I got the big honking biscuit cutter. And I have no idea. That's probably 2 inches, maybe 3 inches, 2.5 inches, somewhere in there. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Now I'm just going to cut these biscuits up real quick. And I don't mind that they're floury. If I've got too much flour on them, I just kind of pat them back and forth and knock the flour off. And I'm going to let these biscuits get right next to each other in the pan. The closer they are, they'll have soft sides. If you keep the farther apart they are, then they'll brown on the edges. So it depends on what kind of biscuit you like. Everybody in my family always wants to go for the middle biscuit, so I crowd my biscuits and let them all touch, and then they're all like having the middle biscuit. That filled one pan. I got 12 biscuits in a 13 by 9 inch pan, and I always have extra dough left over, so I'm just going to take this and finish making the rest of the biscuits and put them in this cake pan. Now see, because I didn't knead this dough, I could take these scrap pieces now and I can kind of knead them together, and I'm not going to make the dough tough. I haven't overworked anything. And I still have plenty of flour on my counter. I don't have to add any more flour. And these are pretty big biscuits. And they'll hold together because there's so much butter and moisture in this dough that it won't fall apart. If my dough was drier, they would fall apart. Look at there. Look at that. I got enough for one perfect biscuit. Look at that. Just hand pat that. See there? One perfect little biscuit. Alright. See, now that gave me 4. I got 4 biscuits in this one. Now, I'm going to pop them in the oven at 450, and they're going to bake between 12 and 14 minutes. And oh, you know what I forgot? I got to brush the tops. Yikes! Okay. See, I'm all worried about the video. This is, this used to be a basting brush. And it's not anymore, but I couldn't bring myself to throw away this great little top that fell off. So I'm using it to brush the tops of my biscuits. And I'm just lightly brushing them. I'm not trying to get too heavy on it. If I get too much on it, on the biscuit tops, they won't brown right. So I'm just slopping it on. I'm not trying to be all pretty because it doesn't matter. In the end, it does not matter because you're going to chew it up. You're gonna slather stuff on top of it. You're gonna pour gravy on top of them. Now I pop them in the oven for 12 to 14 minutes, and depending on how old your oven is, mine's all the way back to 1973. Mine's gonna take a full 14 minutes to bake both these pans. But if you have a newer oven, you might have them golden, lightly golden in 12 minutes. So watch them at the 12-minute mark. There's my biscuits. Let's see if they're ready. Let's see if they're like golden brown like we like them. Get my oven mitt. Hey, these look pretty good. Let's see if can you see those all right? Look, they even look gold. Golden brown buttermilk biscuit. I want them to be just right. So I need to let them cool a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to pop one out, and I'm going to stuff one with blackberry jelly, and I'm going to chow down. See, those are good. You can do this at home. It's really easy. You see, it didn't take that long to put this together, and I didn't even need a mixer. I used my hands. So you can do it, too. Okay, I've let the biscuits cool down a little bit, and now I'm going to put them to the test. I'm going to open this bad boy up. See how that just fell apart? That just fell apart like it's supposed to fall apart. And I've got some homemade blackberry jam. I mean jelly, not jam. Ooh, that had too many seeds in it. Got some jelly here. I'm going to put that in there. My Aunt Maggie, I got a story about her. She lived in the sticks of Louisiana. And I remember one time we were driving along this old road. We'd just come from this farm picking okra. And I need more jelly than that, don't I? Anyways, my grandmother was driving, and my Aunt Maggie said, "Stop, pull over." And we pulled over, and she spotted a blackberry bush on the side of the road growing over a fence. And we stopped, and of course there were thorns all over this thing. And we picked those blackberries, and she went home, and she pulled out a bag of blackberries that she had from the season before. And she made blackberry jelly right there in front of us that afternoon. And her favorite way of eating her biscuits and her jelly is she'd take her blackberry jelly and she'd put it on her plate, and she'd take her soft butter and she'd mash that butter and that jelly together, and then she'd just sop that jelly up with her biscuit. And man, that's good. I like doing that too. But every time I eat biscuits and blackberry jelly, I always think of my Aunt Maggie. See how that fell out? That's how much. That's when you know that you got enough jelly. See, these are moist. This biscuit is not falling apart in my hand. It is together. You know what I'm saying? And it is good. Can we get it? Buttermilk biscuits made with yogurt, stuffed with jelly. Is there anything better? Not. Yeah. Ooh. Really good. Y'all eat healthy. Bye.